Hello. Whenever I feel a bit deep or vulnerable, I like to lose myself in great literary works. And I'm about to share to you two excerpts from um, kind of this recollection of letters between two very prominent poets and writers of very controversial books. Possibly you've heard of them. Anais Nin, which wrote Little Birds and Delta Venus. She was one of the first greatly acknowledged women who've written about, liberating woman erotica, catering to women, the way she writes about woman's sensuality and the fluidity of her words are so intricate and beautiful. And also, of course, there's Henry Miller that caters more to the male audience and a bit of his crass wittiness and sarcasm, and a bit of his objectifying of women, which caused a great uproar in the feminist department. But I've read a few excerpts that I stumbled upon online of this title called A Literate Passion, Letters of Anais Nin and Henry Miller. And it made me think of a specific past romance, and it kind of hit hard. And I wanted to share with anybody who would care watching this video. And I'll read you one of the first excerpts. And this is one of the letters that Henry Miller written to Anais. So Henry Miller, let me just first have a brief update on what exactly are these recollection of letters about. Henry Miller and Anais Nin are both obviously great literary figures, European writers that moved to America to see if they can carry on with their writing career, and they met years ago in Paris when Anais was 28 and I believe Henry Miller was 40, and they were a mismatched pair, and they would carry on with these intellectual conversations about writing and life. And she was a bit of a sponsor towards him, and at the time she was married to Hugo, and they sponsored him by giving him money to write, since he was one of those archetypes of poor yet aspiring writers. And then they grew attracted to one another, and their letters continued, and they shared their romance within the letters, and lust and love and passion for one another. And these letters are reeked with such authenticity that I just have to have the book, and I'm looking forward to reading them. So that's that. You can probably Google this title on any search engine and it will pop up with more detailed summaries. Alright, I'm going to read to you one of the first letters that stuck out to me when reading a few of the excerpts from this book, and it's from Henry Miller to Anais Nin. Anais, I don't know how to tell you what I feel. I live in perpetual expectancy. You come, and the time slips away in a dream. It is only when you go that I realize completely your presence. And then it is too late. You numb me. This is a little drunken, Anais. I am saying to myself, here is the first woman with whom I can be absolutely sincere. I remember your saying, you could fool me, and I wouldn't even know it. When I walk along the boulevards and I think of that, I can't fool you, and yet I would like to. I mean that I can never be absolutely loyal. It's not in me. I love woman or life too much. Which it is, I don't know. But laugh, Anais. I love to hear you laugh. You're the only woman who has a sense of gaiety, a wise tolerance, no more. You seem to urge me to betray you. I love you for that. I don't know what to expect of you, but it is something in the way of a miracle. I am going to demand everything of you, even the impossible, because you encourage it. You are really strong. I even like your deceit, your treachery. It seems aristocratic to me. Love, Henry Miller. And then, of course, this is not necessarily a letter replied to Henry Miller's letter to Anais, but this is one that stuck out from Anais Nin, since it had more of a personal and relative impact on me. Henry, it is true that I create over and over again the same difficulties for myself in order to struggle over and over again to master them, but to continually struggle against the same problem and to continually fail to dominate it brings a feeling of frustration and a kind of perilousness. What is necessary to life, to livingness, is to move on. In other words, to move from one kind of problem to another. Anais Nin. These letters had the time span of 1932 to 1953, which is astounding. I tend to romanticize writing letters, or you can see this, but writing in cursive. I just feel that there's something more real about it. And I feel like this book it's kind of like a time capsule of the way people used to communicate. I hate to say back in the day, but it's true. Everything is so instant now. I can upload this video in a second, post it to Twitter, to Instagram, to Facebook. But if you grasp decades or centuries ago, back in the day where people would write handwritten letters on paper with ink or with a quill and fold it up in an envelope and with a stamp, write out the address and send it out, and wait even days or weeks to have a response. And there's something romantic and yet cherishable about that. And I hope you enjoyed this bit, or hopefully it didn't bore you out of your mind. I'm just being a bit of a literary nerd, avoiding my dry accounting homework.